Hi y'all, I'm Amber, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my January wrap-up. This month I was able to read 5 books, one being a reread, and the first book that I read, A Tangled Web by Ella Montgomery. This is about Penhallows and the Dark family. Over the years have married into each other's families, and now the matriarch of the family is Diane has decided to finally pass down the jug that has some importance, and it's about the chaos that ensues when she does. I think I got maybe 50 pages in before I gave up on this. I think part of it is because every time that I pick up another one of her works, I'm always expecting something similar to the writing in the Enemy Naval series or something similar story-wise. I don't really know. I don't understand it because I know that they're not going to be anywhere similar. And the thing about this one specifically is that it was quite shocking to kind of see the language that she used, specifically for the time that she wrote in. It was kind of out there, and it wasn't something that you would expect from her. And also there was some things that she brought up that I wasn't sure if it was her beliefs or if she was making a commentary about it through the characters. So I don't really know, and I don't want to hold that against her. I was just kind of surprised and shocked at the writing and some of the things that was said through it. So I just had a hard time dealing with it, and a lot of it is my own fault because I have raised my expectations for her way too high, and I think it's just because I keep looking for something like the American Gable series, so it's my own fault. I didn't give this a rating because, like I said, it's my own fault. I basically ruined it for myself. I'm going to keep this book because I'm hoping that in a later time I'll be able to reread it and maybe finish it. Next, I tried to read The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This one is about Prince Mishkin, who everybody considers an idiot, basically. And he's supposed to be kind of like a Christ-like figure, and I don't really agree with that because he's basically, sorry to say, an idiot, and not in the terms that they used it, but more of like, what an idiot! Like, how stupid can you get? Like, why would you do this? And like, he was just really annoying, and I didn't really finish it because I couldn't stand Mishkin at all. And I felt a lot of the times that he was just using the story and the characters to preach at us about his philosophical beliefs and so on and so forth. And I don't know, everybody keeps saying that this is his best work. I really want to like it because I did like Crime and Punishment by him, and I don't really know what to think, if it was just me being impatient, not willing to strive through certain aspects of it that was bothering me. I don't know. So I'm gonna keep it, and after I've finished with the rest of my TBR, I will decide if I want to pick it up again then. I gave The Idiot 2 stars. Next, I read American Sniper by Chris Kyle with Jim DeFelice and Scott McEwen. I believe that everyone knows or should know about what this is about. This is a memoir of sorts, and Chris Kyle talks about what it was like for him to be a sniper and the effects it had on him and his wife and their relationship. I think for the fact that it seems like snipers have such a bad rep, everybody seems to be down on them, that this is an important read because I think that snipers have a very important job. They protect the rest of the troops by being there ahead of them, and I just think that people don't seem to understand what the full job of a sniper is, and this will definitely help in that. And I respect Chris Kyle and what he did for our country. I didn't really agree with him a lot in some things. Like, there was times where I understood what he was saying, but it made me uncomfortable to hear him kind of say it, and especially in the way that he said it. So at times I was bothered by certain things, but at the same time I totally understood where he was coming from. And so I think this is an important read for people who question the role of the sniper. It's just that this is a first-hand perspective of what it was like to be a sniper, and he goes into a lot of details about what his duties were and everything like that. This is below average writing, and that I understand considering the fact that he's not a writer, he's not an author. So I kind of take that with a grain of salt, but it did really affect my ability to get through a lot of what he was saying, because he would put a lot of stuff that I felt that the average person isn't going to be all that interested in. Like, if the person that's reading this is interested in going to the military and wants a first-hand perspective of what it's like and wants to know all the little details, that would be great for them. But for somebody who just wants to know his story, those things are going to be a hindrance to the actual parts that are important to that person. So there are times for me, especially because I'm not interested in going into the military, I'm not interested in the little tiny details like what kind of guns they use and everything like that. What I really wanted to know more about was the relationship between him and his wife and what his career choice affected them and how they handled it. And he does talk about it, but I feel like all the other stuff that he puts in there kind of shies away from that part of the story. In the end, I didn't give this a rating just because I don't feel like it's really that appropriate. The one book that I truly enjoyed was The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. It's about 14-year-old Alma Singer who's obsessed with trying to make her mother happy again, and her mother is translating a book and she is determined to find the author of that book. Then you have Leo Gursky, who is elderly and is basically obsessed with when he's going to die, and also with trying not to die. His writing style is so beautiful, and it created a really strong story and three-dimensional characters that I absolutely fell in love with. I especially really loved Leo and how she handled the fact that he was an older man, and just the way that she would talk about the small details and write them up from the mundane to something special. And I just really loved her writing. And I know that some people had issues with the back and forth in time and how it was very non-linear in that way, but I thought that she handled it well. It was very strong, and it was quite easy for me to know when we were having a flashback and the timelines between Alma's story and Leo's story. So I didn't have no issues with that, but I can understand why some people would, especially if they're not used to books that are written with non-linear style. That's definitely something to keep in mind when you're picking this up. The story itself, I really enjoyed. I really liked seeing how this book that the mother is translating affects not only Alma, but Leo, and the connection between Leo and the book and Alma, and just how it all comes together in the end was really wonderfully done. But at the same time, I did feel like it left me with questions that I wish had been addressed, but at the same time, you can see where those answers are going to happen, and it's just that I just want a little bit more, and that's for me only. I don't think that it is a major issue or even an issue at all. I thought this was her debut novel, but it is not, so I definitely will be picking up more of her stuff in the near future. I absolutely enjoyed it, and it was my favorite book of the month, and I gave it 4.5 stars. The last book that I read this month, which was a reread, is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I wasn't actually planning to reread this one this month. It just sort of happened because I was rewatching the films, and this is something that never happens to me, but right after I finished watching them, I wanted to go right back and rewatch them. But I was determined not to do that because it took me 2 weeks to finish them, and I had other things that I wanted to watch. So in the end, I decided to start rereading the books. And I read it, and I loved it even more. And there was something that really caught my eye that I didn't notice like the last 2 or 3 times I reread it. And I don't know if anybody else caught it, because no one ever mentions this. I'm not even going to say what it was. It's just something that really caught my eye. And I'm curious to see when I reread a certain book if that's brought up again. So that'll be something that I'm going to keep an eye out for. On to what I'm currently reading, which is Abigail Adams by Woody Holton. Of course, this is a biography of Abigail Adams, who was married to John Adams, the second president of the United States. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about 75 pages, and I really like that the writing is accessible to people who read more fiction than nonfiction, which makes it easier for those people to enjoy and read what he has to say with ease. I also appreciate the fact that he seems to have really well researched what he is talking about, but at times I do feel like he's inferring a lot and not really backing up some of the things that he has said. There's one or two instances where I feel like he's guessing at what she meant, and I don't really know if I care for that, but at the same time I can understand why he would infer those things. So it's okay that he does it, but at the same time, he's making it out like it's fact, although with what I read and how I saw it, I really didn't see how he could say that 100% sure of it. It's very interesting to see what Abigail Adams' life was like and her perspective, her opinions, her views, and everything. So I'm definitely enjoying it, and I should be done with this sometime this week. The next book that I am currently reading is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I have no clue if I'm pronouncing that right at all, but everybody should know what this book is about, whether you've watched the play or the film or have actually read this book. Everybody should know what it's about, so I'm not even going to bother giving you a synopsis for this. I normally read 2 books at a time, and the reason why I am reading this alongside another book is because I'm only going to be reading 1 or 2 chapters a day, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to get through this book by reading chunks at a time. His writing style is very dry and hard to work through, and I would probably just burn myself out by trying to rush myself through 100 pages at a time. So I thought this would be better, that especially since it is the beginning of the year, that I would start it right now and just work through it alongside whatever other books I'm reading. And at the end of each month, you'll see where I progressed and what I'm thinking about it so far. So I just really started it. I'm only 12 pages in, and so far I'm really surprised at the writing, just because I did try to read this 5 or 6 years ago, but I did actually read I forget what it's called when they do that, where they just leave everything in. They don't do anything with the writing, really. They just translate it from the one language to the other, to English. I tried that one. That was the hugest mistake I ever made, because there was no way I was going to get through all of that jumble. But this has been working really well, at least for now. I mean, it's, like I said, very dry, very slow work, but at least I can get through what the author is actually saying and understand it and enjoy it on some level. That is it for me. Tell me down below if you've read any of the books that I talked about. What did you think about them? I'd love to be able to discuss these books with you. Also, I would love to hear what you've been reading in the past month. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.